Hello again, everybody. It's your old friend here, Bo James. Some people like to call me the King of Kingsport, and you're listening. Do you want to be a wrestler kid? Radio here on Blog Talk, and I have a very special guest. He was my first guest, and did 2 episodes with him earlier this summer, and hopefully 2 or 3 episodes up to come here with Randy Hales, as we're going to be talking about Memphis memories, 1994. We're going to talk about the 90s USWA and the last territory, the one that outlasted all of them. I'm talking about Memphis Wrestling, Jarrett Promotions, USWA, ever how you may know it, CWA, as you saw it across the country. And I've got him on the line right here. We've been talking for the last few days getting ready for this. Randy Hales, how are you?
I'm great, Bo. I'm calling you in from Watkinsville, Georgia, with Co-Brothers Circus, and you're going to come see me in about a month, and you and Misty going to get to see the circus. Looking forward to that, but I just wanted to start, Bo, by saying, wow, you told me you wouldn't tell me how you were going to open the show. What were you trying to do, man? Make me cry from the get-go? Because, you know, that's my life, Monday Night Memories, brother. I mean, it gets a lump in your throat. I mean, it's my life. It's our life, and, you know, it's amazing. What a great job Jimmy Hart did with that song.
Oh, yeah, and it is. It's an emotional, if you grew up with an emotional connection to those guys like we did, and then getting to work there and getting to become friends with your heroes, and, you know, man, it's something, and we look back, and I don't think we realized it at the time, Randy, but we were 2 very blessed people to get to be a part of it. I know you were a much bigger part of it than I was, but, hey, I was there, and I loved every second of it, and I left there with a lot of friendships, and as the song says, memories. You know, that's all we have to remember some of them by. We're going to talk about a lot of them here in I don't know how long this episode, you know, we got 45 minutes today, and hopefully you'll be with us next week, maybe 3 weeks here, because we got a lot of stuff to talk about, and as you said today, let's take our time and let the people understand exactly what we're talking about, and, you know, like I said, you know, Jarrett Promotions, it was just wrestling. Memphis just came on to wrestling for years, then it became the CWA, and then the USWA, and then it was syndicated across the country. If you grew up in Tennessee or the state surrounding Tennessee, you saw it no matter where you lived, it seemed, because it was on everywhere. And drew big ratings everywhere, and everybody knew about the Mid-South Coliseum on Mondays. And then over the time, now with the Internet and books that are being wrote, we know about Louisville Gardens on Tuesday, Evansville on Wednesday, Nashville on Saturday nights, and all points in between Thursday and Friday nights. But a lot of people don't realize that the last big run of territorial wrestling was there in Memphis in the 90s. It kind of come out of, I don't know if I would say out of nowhere, because business had declined as it did everywhere else, but in the early 90s, what we're going to start talking about here, it started picking up business again. There became a new interest in Memphis, one thing being their working relationship with the WWF, and it was starting to get some press when the WWF guys were coming down there to Memphis, and then Jerry Lawler showed up. I've got a headline right here, December the 7th, 1992. Lawler debuts on prime time as he made his first appearance on Raw that week. And, you know, that was shocking to some people because they never thought Lawler was going to leave Memphis. They never thought he was going to go to the WWF after years of talking about him on TV and all the stuff that had went on. But it set the stage for what was to come in 94 and 95, and that would be kicked off by the first Monday Night Memories that we just heard, the song Jimmy Hart wrote for that. And I just want you to take a minute and talk about when you came back into Memphis and how you slowly started building some steam there to get to the booking position.
Wow, it's so much, although it's so much, it's almost hard to decide where to start off with that. First of all, I appreciate you inviting me here today. Apparently, you don't mind having me on the show today, and I appreciate that because, as I told you on the phone earlier, we had some gentleman on Facebook that posted to a picture of the advertisement of this show and was very critical, and he said that I was the guy that killed Memphis Wrestling. And when somebody, you consider the source, I know, but when somebody started watching a product when they were 10 years old and devoted their whole life to a product, and then, it can't help but bother you when you have somebody making comments like that. And my answer to that, I'm not the man that killed Memphis Wrestling. I'm the man that led Memphis Wrestling 3 years past the time that the actual USWA was closed. It wasn't on my watch that Channel 5 canceled TV5 Wrestling. It wasn't on my watch that Danny Davis started running Louisville because the USWA was out of business. It wasn't on my watch that Burt Prentice started running Nashville because the USWA was out of business. I went to TV5 after they had canceled the show, and because of the fact they respected me, never had any problems with me, never had any issues with me, we went into that television show and they gave us 1 hour in Power Pro Wrestling. So for 3 years, professional wrestling history in Memphis was extended because of the passion that I had in the wrestling business. So that has nothing to do with the early 90s. In 89, I was burned out, left the business for several years, started slowly coming back around, helping run spot shows, doing different things. In 92, when Jerry Jarrett went to WWF, then quickly followed by Jeff Jarrett, I became Jerry Lawler's assistant booker. Lawler was already wrestling some for the WWE. He wasn't in as much as he had been. He would basically do TV and some Memphis Mid-South Coliseums, but he wasn't around all the time. Bill Dundee was still in WCW. He wasn't around at that time either. So, it ended up where a lot of the load was on me. And then I got the idea, just because always, I think all the time about Memphis wrestling, about the history of Memphis wrestling, and we had never done an honest-to-goodness memory show, a tribute show. Sort of about January of 94, I got the idea. I pitched it to Lawler. He said, it's all on you. So I secured the talent. I secured the advertising. I wrote the television. I did the memory segments. And the show that we were expecting, maybe we knew it would do good. We were expecting maybe 2,500 people, 3,000 at the top, because it was a special event. We knew it would draw, and we built for it for 4 weeks. But it did 9,000 people, and it was the biggest house and biggest attended wrestling event in Memphis, Bo, since the AWA World Title match when Jerry Lawler beat Curt Hennig. And you have the date on when that happened. What year was that? 88?
May the 9th, 1988.
So you look at 88 and go all the way to 94. So that was the best run in a long time, and it was easy. It didn't take a genius. I just knew there was a lot of people out there like me, put a lot of work in that sucker, and it worked. It worked, drew money, and it set the tone for the next 2 years. The biggest thing that we did in that situation is Lance Russell hadn't been on Memphis TV in 5 years. And when we start talking about this, I thought, well, this is the best crowd in 5 years. This is the best crowd in 6 years. This is the best crowd in 5 years. It's not a coincidence during that 5 years that Lance Russell was not a part of Memphis Wrestling. He was working for WCW. It was just a magic time, and it wasn't just a one-night thing. It was the whole concept of Monday Night Memories was to get people in the building and get them interested in Memphis wrestling again, get people back that were a big part of Memphis wrestling history. And shortly after that event, several weeks later, I was able to secure a deal with Lance to bring him back on an almost every weekly basis, and he started going to the Coliseum thing. And I'm not telling you we did the business that we did in 92 or 90 or in 82 or 83 back in the glory days, but boy, it was better than it had been. We had things clicking, got some people over, and it was just a exciting time. And I think proud of the fact that everybody worked hard. We came together. It wasn't the best crew ever as far as name recognition. The underneath matches, some of that we probably wouldn't have booked, 5 or 10 years before. But it was a different era, and everybody else had gone out of business. No more Georgia Championship Wrestling. No more Championship Wrestling from Florida. No more Southeastern. No more Continental. No more Southwest. No more World Class. No more AWA. No more Portland. We were it, and we survived. And, I'm real proud of that time in 94, 95, 96. I mean, we could talk specifically about different shows and what they drew and what the angles were. But it was just a great time. Had luck, was on our side. It always has to be working. Luck and hard work is what got us through those several years. And like I keep saying, I'm very, very proud of it.
Here's one thing, too. I'm going to read you a quote here. This is out of one of the newsletters from that time, and it says, let me find it, I just had it. It said, with Lance Russell calling the action, the excitement level has considerably raised, with Lance being back doing the TVs at that time. And here's the thing, too, Randy. The attendance at the Coliseum may have dropped, but I don't think the viewership on Saturday mornings in Memphis really had dropped that much. People were still watching. You just needed a reason to get them there.
Needed a reason to get them in the building, absolutely. And Lance was so good. And, we've talked about that so much. The Bill Dundee podcast, the Superstar and Aussie show, Bill had Lance on the show, and me and you talked about that, and we both had chills and maybe a tear in our eye because he can talk you into the building today. It's amazing, and that was honestly a big part of the deal. I don't want to get ahead of myself to 95, but one of the favorite things that I've ever done personally is a simple interview during the Smoky Mountain. We'll go back in more detail with Smoky Mountain USWA things, but I got beat up, got busted up, bled a lot, left myself off TV for several weeks, didn't sign myself for a match. And do you remember the deal where Lance called me out? He wasn't happy with me for agreeing for the match, and he said, I'll talk to you just like I'd talk to my son. Are you crazy? Are you nuts? What are you thinking? You already hospitalized? I was in that room when your blood pressure went sky high, went low, or whatever the heck it did. And that's one of my favorite deals just because, man, it was real. He did care about me. He knew me since I was a kid, so that emotion came up in that interview, and boy, when I then fired up and went to town on that promo and said stuff like I'm not going to let anybody come in and take over this company because this company is my life. Well, it was my life. It basically it was reality in a wrestling angle, and it's just little things are so important, and you can't get that with people that's not history. The people knew me since I was a kid. They knew him for 50 years, and they believed it. Simple.
They had that emotional connection with both of you. Now, had Lance not been on the TV just simply because nobody had asked him in those 5 years? Well, I know he worked for WCW, and he finished up there in 92, or I think it was 92, but had nobody called him about coming back?
I don't think so. There was big heat with Jerry Jarrett and Lance Russell. This is a funny story. It wasn't easy to get Lance to come back because Lance is the forgiving type of thing, and, to get a payoff and that sort of thing and see everybody and work with Dave the one time. I'm not talking about talking him into coming back full-time. I'm talking to just getting him to come the one time. I don't know how many times that I had to talk to him on the phone and go to the house, and he wasn't the issue. It was his wife, Aubrey, had such bitter feelings toward the way how it was handled after he left, because honestly, he gave his notice. He wanted to do one last TV, and say bye to the people. Jerry Jarrett was so bitter that he was leaving. He didn't let him do it, and about halfway buried him. And at that point, money had been cut. There was heavy feelings there. Well, Jarrett was in New York, and he wasn't going to be around. And Jerry Lawler and I both assured Lance that Jerry Jarrett wasn't going to be there the night of that. He didn't have to deal with him. He would deal with me. He would deal with Jerry Lawler. He wouldn't have to deal with Jerry Jarrett. Then I found out the night before the event, guess what? Eddie Marlin called me, told me that Jarrett, because of the special occasion, the special event, celebrating Monday Night Memories, and honestly, I love the fact that Jarrett was coming to that, but I had the issue with Lance, and I had to call. I thought it could had already got the TV, so it looked like we pulled one over on him. That's how it looked. But I talked to him and said, "Listen, I didn't know this. I don't want you to have to go to this situation, but we'll keep you away from him, and this is for the fans and for us, and he'll fly in and fly out, and you'll never have to see him again." And so he got there, and they talked, and there was no issue. But it was an exciting time and a nerve-wracking time as well.
Yeah. Was there any talent that you wanted, that you contacted and they didn't come, or weren't interested in coming in?
I'm not going to say that there was anybody that wasn't interested in coming in. I wanted Jimmy Hart, but I forgot what he was dealing with then. I don't know if he was in WCW yet or working with something. He wanted to come, and he contributed big time by that Monday Night Memory song that he wrote, and me and Randy West made the video on it. He wanted to come, just couldn't come. Bill Dundee was working for WCW. He couldn't come. We wanted him, no doubt. I wanted Jeff Jarrett. I wanted Jeff bad, but he was on the road full-time with the WWE. It was on a Monday that first year, thank gosh. The second memory show was on a Saturday, and that was a huge mistake. But the first year was on a Monday, and we couldn't get Jeff. Don't remember why we couldn't get Dutchman Tell. But, we had enough. And one of the biggest draws of the event was the Hall of Fame ceremony, and we had an older scaled crowd along with the regulars there that night, because it's been if you help me if you have that in front of you on that card, we did the induction to the Hall of Fame, and we had the Diamond Ring, Cadillac Man, Sputnik Monroe there for the first time in years. We also, of course, inducted Lance Russell to the Hall of Fame, Don and Al Green, Phil Hickerson, and help me fill that in.
Here's the list here. Guy Coffey, Frank Burrell, Billy Mack, Buddy Wayne, Christine Jarrett. Turn the page here.
And I think we honored these people.
Roy Welch and Nick Goulas, they were honored. Both of them had passed at that time. Eddie Marlin, Jerry Jarrett, Tretch Phillips, Tommy Gilbert, Sylvia Hackney, Sarah Lee, Corsica Joe, Phil Hickerson, Jim White, Don and Al Green, and Sputnik Monroe. And then they did.
That's a heck of a list.
It sure is. And also inducted Tojo Yamamoto.
Absolutely, and I think Jerry Jarrett accepted that. And, it was at that point it hadn't ever been done in Memphis. It was just a great thing. We probably spent 45 minutes, maybe 30, on that ceremony, and we had music, and I had written introductions for everybody that Lance and Dave did. It was just a tremendous deal, and it was exciting that day. Your buddy Handsome Jimmy that you traveled 1,000,000 miles in, we had him for Nashville that Saturday and Louisville that Sunday, and then Handsome rode with me into Memphis that Sunday night after Louisville, and that's a great haul. And then I got to the Coliseum about 9 o'clock that morning. Never done that in my life. Had my computer, my briefcase, that sort of thing. Set me up a office in a meeting room because I was still having to write the introductions and lay out the show and that sort of thing. But every 30 minutes or so, I'd go to the ticket office or the management office, and just all day long, people were lined up, and I remember I kept calling Lawler. You don't believe what this event is now, and it just kept coming and kept coming and kept coming, and I credit Lawler because I'm not positive this was the Saturday TV, and that TV was very good too, which was a 90-minute hard sell for the Monday Night Memphis Memories show. But Lawler, I'm almost positive it was that day. The go home TV. He said, "Randy, trust me on this." He said, "It's a memory show." He said, "Have Eddie Marlin go out and say, 'Hey, this is memory." So we're going to give you that era prices and go with $3 general admission." And I was afraid that was a mistake. But boy, that $3 ticket, and there was 7,000 seats available for the general admission section, or about 6,700 actually. And we ended up around 9,000 people, and I think that put us over the top, because anybody that watching that TV could afford. Maybe they couldn't afford the $15 price or the $20 price or whatever. We went for our high price that had the meet and greet, and we did a great. Had a pizza party and meet and greet, and that had never been done in Memphis. But having the $3 ticket that anybody could afford put it over the top. So Lawler was a genius on that idea.
Yeah, and one of the best things about the home video that was put out is they show part of that pizza party and autograph thing, and the fans, just as they interviewed the fans, and they told their memories of coming to the Coliseum, and some of them brought old programs and ticket stubs and their own memorabilia, because there's such a rich history there. And I mean, you really look at it, there's a rich wrestling history in every major city in the South, but Memphis outlasted all of them. It outlasted all of them. And
Absolutely.
The history, no matter what age group you are, even now, if you're in your 20s, you still remember watching Channel 5 wrestling from Power Pro. So from 20 years old up, you saw Channel 5. If you lived in the Mid-South somewhere, you saw Memphis Saturday morning wrestling. My nephews have memories of going to Channel 5 with me there as little boys, and sitting over beside Dave Brown and seeing the action in the studio and going to the Coliseum with me. I mean, even if they were a wrestling fan or not, it seems like everybody that grew up in Memphis at one time or another had been to the matches at the Coliseum or the TV station.
And not only just Memphis, the surrounding area. I grew up in Jonesboro, Arkansas, and, it was just the power of that TV was tremendous, and it was in different days. I'm sure it was when you, I'm about 10, I think I'm about 10 years older than you. Do you remember the days of just being able to get 3 TV stations on your TV or not?
Sure do. Well, and where I lived, we only got 2.5, and we had to get that third one if it snowed or rained real hard.
That's funny. Yeah. But, so we had this great event, and we brought this talent in, and we had a heck of a show, and the people weren't coming to see great wrestling matches. It was a nostalgia feeling, but I wanted the people to see Wolfie D and JC Ice. At that time, Lawler broken them up, and they were feuding. But at the same time, I wanted them to see Brian Christopher. He was groomed as the the top new babyface, because Jeff Jarrett was the top babyface for along with Lawler, and Dundee was in and out during those time periods. But as far as young, the next era type of babyface, Jeff Jarrett was the next era, and so he was gone. He was in the WWE, so that era was a transition period for Memphis wrestling. Lawler wasn't there every week. Jeff Jarrett was gone. Bill Dundee was in WCW. So after the success, and tell me if I'm getting ahead of myself too much, we can go at whatever pace, but that 94 show was successful, but then the next step was, hey, what will we do next? And basically I was booked into one show. Jerry Lawler was booking the territory. I booked one show and laid out one TV, and a couple of weeks after that he was saying, well, heck, you just booked that 9,000 people, and I'm not here all the time. You booked this son of a gun. And so then we just got lucky in that situation. So right away, I'm thinking, we got Brian as the babyface. All right?
Yeah. Well, let me jump in here real fast. The live listeners, we got several listening live. We're going to go over 15 minutes. You can listen to the last 15 minutes in a few minutes when we get done in the archives. But we're getting ready to run out of our live time. But just listen to us here in about 20 minutes. You can come back and pick up the conversation. Now, let me read the card to you for that night, Randy. And you look at the guys that come out of that Memphis Memories, and this for some of them was their first night being seen by a lot of the fans. Opening match was the Nightmares, Danny Davis and Ken Wayne, who had long ties to Memphis. And Scovon Crush tagged with them as they beat King Cobra Spellbinder, who would become a big part of Memphis wrestling in the next few years, and Jeff Gaylord. JC Ice and Wolfie D double countout. They would be huge parts in the next 3 years of Memphis wrestling. Coco Beware beat Billy Travis. Both of them had long-term ties there. Tommy Rich and Jimmy Valiant, same thing, long time. They went all the way back to the 70s, both of them. The Moondogs beat Dr. Frank and Leatherface. And you can't have a Memphis nostalgia card without having Dr. Frank, I don't believe.
Absolutely.
And you had to grow up on Memphis wrestling to understand Dr. Frank. Bert Prentice and Ronnie Gossett did a lip-syncing concert, They You Break Your Heart and Old Time Rock and Roll, and the crowd was really into it, is what it is.
Crowd was really into it, but I hated it. Yeah. I hated it with a passion. That was a last-minute Lawler deal to make Bert happy, and it was and Gossett had come down with somebody, and maybe it was Gossett that pitched the idea to Lawler. I don't remember, but Lawler, just trying to make everybody happy. But just in a nostalgia show, it was good and it did get over, but in a nostalgia show, I wasn't happy, even though it got over, if that makes sense. Well, go ahead with the call.
Yeah. Jerry Lawler, Austin Idol, Brian Christopher beat Eddie, Doug Gilbert, and Terry Funk by DQ for the heels hitting the referee, and then they had the big 10-man elimination. Best of Memphis at the end was Jerry Lawler beat Terry Funk, I think it was, or Eddie Gilbert in the finals of that. The card went longer than it went almost an hour longer than the average Monday night card, which they said, the following week on TV they made the announcement, don't get used to that, we'll be done at 10 o'clock because it was a work night and a school night to keep people coming on Monday nights. But, if you look at there, that was a lot of people's first time really seeing PG-13 live. Maybe in some of the first time seeing Brian Christopher live, because I'm sure there was people that came to the Coliseum that night that hadn't been in 5 or 6 years.
Or longer than that, honestly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so we tried to give, especially Brian, a prominent thing. And Doug Gilbert, too, was a big part of the next 3 years. And Tommy Rich was a big part of the next 3 years. And Lance Russell, we were just getting together, even though in booking the card, I didn't know that's what I was doing. I just wanted to create event that people could come back, because I thought Lawler was doing a great job booking the territory, and I thought that we had some good stuff, some fresh people, and I thought, man, we're just not getting the people that we should get with this type of product. and all the towns were bad. And, so I said, we need to give them a reason to come into the arena because they were watching the TV. But we need to give them a reason to come in, and then we need to hook them. And we didn't do a big angle to work a return, we just built excitement and got Memphis Wrestling back talking Memphis Wrestling back into the community. And then once it was on me, once that Jerry Lawler handed me the ball, it was, what do you want to do? And tag team territory from Jerry Jarrett and Tojo Yamamoto all the way through the Rock and Roll and the Fabs and Jeff and Billy Travis and so many, tag team territory. We didn't have an established babyface team. I like PG-13, and the reason I did is, and I got a lot of knock, including Lawler, felt that in the beginning that I was going way too heavy with these guys. First of all, always has been a smaller guy territory, especially with the baby faces. You could get away with it. Second of all, they were unique. It was a different type of gimmick at the time. They were thugs, but they were baby faces. Jamie Dundee, J.C. Ice was the second generation wrestler. Wolfie grew up as a wrestling fan his whole life and had a wrestling focus, a wrestling mind. He got it. He loved it. He had a passion for it. He understood it. He had his mama and his stepdad and his family living in Nashville. And I try to tell emotional stories, personal issue stories. That's what Memphis was built on, and I think we got away from that. So I knew we could get sympathy on PG, and I knew we could create stories based on reality that would work. And then on the Hills side, we were lucky. We got Sid Vicious, who had not been in a major promotion in a while, trying after the situation overseas or in England with Arn Anderson. Yeah. He had been out, and this was his first territory back, and he was working hard to get that opportunity at the big show again. So we got Sid as a credible champion. We got
the Dream Machine came back. That was somebody they hadn't seen in years.
Absolutely, and he did a hell of a job, as always, talking and big tough heel, and I keep saying this, buddy, but we did we had Lance Russell selling the angles. Sid came in June, but let me explain this. To get PG-13 over, we had the Eliminators that were Saturn and Cronus and ECW later, two big tough guys. Looking at the results, I think I had PG beat them 8 straight weeks, right? They get the crap beat out of them.
Let me ask you this real fast. Was there anybody that had a problem with Jamie and Wolfie because they were on the smaller side? They were young guys. Was there any of the veterans that really didn't want to do business with them?
Actually, everybody thought that I was making a mistake as far as pushing them so heavy. But back in those days, the office was the office, and everybody did business. And as it went on, people could see they were getting old, and so it didn't take long. And Perry Saturn and Cronus was great because they weren't going to be here long, and they still we kept heat on them, and it worked. I mean, it absolutely worked, and we worked in some things on October the 3rd of that year. We did a deal where on the same card we had Sid, and Sid had been there since June, but you always need to keep the product fresh. And Miss Texas Jackie had I don't know if she came from a WCW run or a WWE run. I think it was a WCW run, but we got her back, and we shot an angle and put her with PG, and that freshened them up, and you know, she was over in Memphis, and also on that October the 3rd day we did a personal angle sort of thing. Again, I'd never been involved in an angle, and it was just a natural thing because Scott Bowden was the manager at that point, and honestly, I didn't think he deserved to be in the wrestling business. He was a friend of Brian and Kevin Lawler and that sort of thing, and he had started wrestling, and you know, he just didn't. He wanted to be on TV and say funny stuff and be a TV star, but he didn't want to go to Memphis or didn't want to go to Louisville or Evansville or these spot shows. He had a job at FedEx. I understood that, and I would advise him to keep a job. But he absolutely had talent, but you know, he would knock me on TV or whatever, and it was just, I don't know if you ever saw the angle that we shot with me and him, where he was just saying I was Eddie Marlin's illegitimate son and all this, and just, do you remember the TV when we did the deal, and just remember people say, why did you put yourself on TV? The reason why is you had to keep your product fresh. People weren't exactly knocking the walls down to come into the territory, and we had somebody in me that these people, the wrestling fans, knew all my life. They cared about me. They absolutely cared, and that's the connection that people don't understand. So when I came out and I jumped over that table, we took a bump and basically had a cat fight. That audience, and they were yelling, "Get Buck, get Buck." I didn't know what the hell "get Buck" meant, but I knew, my God, this got over.
That's Misty's favorite chant, "Get Buck." It goes back to the old saying, personal issues draw money.
Absolutely. And so when I go back to the back, and I knew that I was going to have to do a promo that I'd never given in my life. You know, I had done the promoter stuff that Eddie Marlin wrote, but I've never do a thing. So I was so blowed up. So everything that I had in my mind to say left my mind. I mean, I was standing out there in a break, and I was supposed to go. I was blowed up. I was breathing hard. You know, because we wrestled around. That was real. You know, even though, it was intense and it was stiff and that sort of thing. I was blowed up, and I said to Lawler, I said, "Give me an interview. I'm going blank." And he said, "Just you need to change the card to add it to you and him. Just talk about your love for the business, and you've worked to receive your dreams." And he said, "It'll come to you," and it did, and it just worked. And we did 3 weeks, and that was it for me for a year. We also had in October the 17th, we were trying to feed Sid with WWF talent as much as possible because Lawler was not in Memphis every Monday night. So the Undertaker came in. There's 3,200 people on October 17th, and they had a hell of a match, Bo. It was fantastic. I watched the other night on the Best of '94. And here's a very important part of all this too. The average weekly house was 800 to 900 people in Memphis before Memphis Memories, and now from Memphis Memories on, it really never went below 1,000 people. As much as, and some weeks as high as 3,200, 2,500. So that Memphis Memories had really stoked the fire and turned things back around. You know, they were sitting in that building. People were sitting in that hadn't been set in a long time. Absolutely, because they had, on that Memphis Memory show, we opened up the top, and that had been closed for years. I know if we have time-wise about 4 minutes left.
We've got about 2.5 minutes.
2.5?
Yeah, 2.5.
Okay. So we're not going to get to 95 at all, but
we'll get to 95 next year. We'll pick it up at the first of the year next week.
Next year?
Next week.
You're going to put me off for next year? Good God, Bo. Anyway, you know, the last thing that happened in 94 is Bill Dundee got screwed around in WCW, was released because Bischoff was making money for his people coming in. So in November of 94, we got the Superstar back. So we end the year with Sid Vicious as the top heel, as Brian Christopher established, making all the towns, PG-13 established with credibility and long-term Southern Tag Team Champions or USWA Tag Team Champions actually at that time. And then we had Bill come back, and of course in winter it's kind of hard, but the table was set. So everything started. Jarrett went away. The other Jarrett went away. Lawler wasn't there as much. Changed bookers. All the things that got Lance Russell back. 94 had been a very eventful year, and we thought a very good year. But then 95, we were thinking, and at the end of 94, how are we going to top this? And we didn't top it as far as the next Monday Night Memory show doing as well as the first. But we topped it because we also did a Louisville Memory show, and
I definitely want to get into that next week. Yeah, so we're down to the last seconds next week right here. Hopefully Randy will be right back here. We'll pick it up 1995 USWA.